Hello everyone, I'd like to talk a little bit about Bitcoin today. So I've been a Bitcoin investor for over 4 years now, and in that time I've read a great deal about it. I've watched a great deal of videos on YouTube about it as well. Consider it 4 years worth of part-time effort in understanding an important new technology. Now, when you Google Bitcoin regularly, you'll start to see patterns in how it is reported. You'll see article after article that is negative in nature. This kind of news is designed and reported in such a way as to make it seem like Bitcoin is bad. Bitcoin is going to cause environmental damage and disaster due to its environmental usage. Bitcoin can't be allowed to continue because of insert some bullshit reason here, given by the governments and the banks of the world. On and on it goes, ad nauseum. Now, it's very difficult for the average person on the street to understand what's really going on. Now, they've heard that Bitcoin is bad and they think negative things straight away because that's what the media has trained them to think. And that's certainly what the government wants you to think as well. Now, why does the media keep reporting negative or bad news about Bitcoin? Well, bad news gets eyeballs. Bad news makes us fearful. Bad news sells online newspaper advertising. Have you ever had a really good look at all the ads on the online news websites? Forbes is unreadable without an ad blocker. The Daily Mail website's worse, and Bloomberg is a joke as well. All these advertisers pay the newspapers for your attention. Bad news sells and gets your attention. Some of you then click on the ads and buy the products of the advertisers. And the advertisers know this, so they keep paying. Now, when I first started my cryptocurrency consultancy, INTJ Billing, Google and Facebook banned my cryptocurrency ads. So I couldn't advertise. I had to rely on word of mouth and visitors to my YouTube channel and my own business website to gain clients. So I was uploading videos to my channel and my website and on Facebook that were well researched, well thought out, which I spent time and effort on producing. Didn't matter. In general, it's the worst researched, the worst thought out, and the content with little production value or even little correct information that tends to be viewed the most and gains the most attention. So what a world that we live in. Very frustrating for the highly intelligent and the highly educated. Now, in previous research videos of mine, which are available on my YouTube channel, I tried to cut through all the bullshit that you read about in the news about Bitcoin. And I presented charts and information about Bitcoin based on its fundamentals. Asset fundamentals are very important. What's the intrinsic value of a house? That's the land that it sits on. What about the intrinsic value of a business? Well, it's the discounted cash flows. What about a car? It's utility to get from A to B. So what about Bitcoin? What's the value of Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin is digital gold. It uses peer-to-peer technology to operate with no central authority or banks. Bitcoin is open source, its design is public, and nobody owns or controls Bitcoin. And everyone can take part. Everyone can take part. Bitcoin doesn't discriminate based on your skin color, your beliefs, or the nature of your work, or any other basis. And we live in a world of censorship and political correctness, and things have gotten much worse over the past 30 years. We live in a world where banks, payment processors, and the like censor and block transactions. Banks and payment processors, for example, don't like pimps and they don't like sex workers. So why is Bitcoin valuable for these types of people? Bitcoin payments are uncensorable, that's why. They're guaranteed to go through because there's no middleman, no central authority that says you can't do that. You're not allowed to pay this person or that person because of insert bullshit reason here. And the reasons the banks and the payment processors give are bullshit, rest assured. They say things like they don't want their brands associated with that kind of activity. That doesn't pass the pub test. I mean, think about it. If you Google something like, I don't know, filthy Asian horse, what do you see? You see a big Google logo along with all that content. Now, do you hear Google giving bullshit reasons why they can't allow such search terms on their platforms because they don't want their logo associated with the content? No. Not unless the content is much more extreme, i.e. illegal. So Bitcoin has value for its utility, especially for people that are not liked by the banks and the payment processors. Now, I'm my own Bitcoin payment processor. I'm my own bank. If you want to pay me for something, you can send me money in Bitcoin directly, and I'll receive it. And there's nothing that anybody can do to block or to censor the transaction. That property, being uncensorable, is extremely valuable utility-wise for many people and businesses located around the world. And there was a time when it was unthinkable that anyone could be their own publisher. Yet we live in a world where this is exactly what has happened. Literally anyone can put up a website and publish. But look what has happened to the internet. It's broken. Large corporations like Google, Facebook, YouTube, and so on dominate our lives. Publish something that they don't agree with, and you can expect to get blocked, censored, your videos taken down, given strikes, and so on. Sky News was recently banned here in Australia from YouTube for a week. Now, I'm not a great fan of Murdoch, but it does go to show that nobody is safe. Even the previous US President, Donald Trump, has been deplatformed. Now, seeing situations like this, people like myself with extreme skills and knowledge in computing have built out our own uncensorable computing infrastructure and have integrated Bitcoin payments into this infrastructure. And just think about that. We live in a world where freedom of speech and freedom of expression has increasingly become restricted based on the policies of big tech. In other words, the policies and political beliefs of highly skilled computing types of people who tend to be on very high incomes, are left of centre politically, and are living in gilded cages in places like San Francisco. Well, how does that help the sex workers, the porn producers, and the pimps of the world? Now, I use people like this as examples because these are the types of people that big tech and the payment companies don't like due to the nature of their speech, their expressions. And note this carefully, because these types of people are not advertiser friendly. In other words, big tech loses money hosting their content because advertisers won't pay and don't want to be associated with controversial people like that. This is why sex workers, porn producers, pimps and the like need to build their own uncensorable computing infrastructure, and they need to use Bitcoin for uncensorable payments. Now, whilst you may not like these types of people that I'm talking about, you need to understand that it could be you next that gets deplatformed or censored. There was a German pastor who wrote a poem back in the day. It goes something like this: first they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists. I did not speak out, because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out, because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Understand this: we live in a world where the media is bought and paid for. So much of what we see and read is either created to place advertising next to it, or is designed to get you to purchase product X or Y. Now, it takes effort, work, to cut through the bullshit out there and get to the nuggets of truth about a subject. And Bitcoin you can safely ignore almost all of the negative news out there about it. Just concentrate on its fundamentals and know that every 4 years, the supply of Bitcoin that is rewarded to the miners for verifying transactions on the network gets halved. Tick tock. With every tick of the clock, as time goes by, the fundamental value of Bitcoin increases and its supply decreases. Long-term price trend is up. And there won't be another Bitcoin. Digital scarcity is a one-time thing. With the altcoins, what you're seeing are copies of digital scarcity. There'll only ever be 21 million Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is digital gold and the best store of value in human history. Now this video today, there's no ads next to it. I'm not getting paid to shield product X or Y. If you notice, the way that I talk is not mainstream, and I've got a way of cutting through all the bullshit and getting to the heart of the matter. And that's no accident. Mainstream media doesn't tend to talk this way. And they can't, because it will negatively affect their advertising revenue. So I say buy Bitcoin. Dollar cost average into it over a long period of time and hold on to it. And if you need to sell your Bitcoin, don't sell it all at once. Just dollar cost average out of it over a very long period of time. That's the way to win. That's the strategy that works. That's part of the reason why I'm a free man, semi-retired now. By dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin, you're buying the world's most pristine asset. Future generations of your family will thank you, and they'll be amazed. Hey, granddad, grandma, how'd you get all this Bitcoin? This is amazing. Now, at the time of this video being created, it's Thursday, August 12th, 2021. The last Bitcoin halving occurred on the 11th of May, 2020. We're a year and 3 months past that last halving. The previous halving events caused the price of Bitcoin to go parabolic. We've not yet entered this large parabolic uptick in the price of Bitcoin, but it's in the post, rest assured. It's coming. Bitcoin's worth 63,000 Australian dollars at the moment, and I expect it's going to be over 100,000 by April 2022, and perhaps even 200,000 by December of 2022. And time, of course, will bear this out, whether this prediction comes true. One analyst, Plan B, for example, has got a price of 610,000 on Bitcoin by the end of the year. Now, I don't think it'll stay at these sorts of lofty highs. I think, just like in previous cycles, will go up and it'll come back down again, and that'll repeat over and over again. So my conclusion, my advice for all of you is to look very carefully at the fundamental value of Bitcoin. Look at its utility value and look at the people that are excluded from the traditional financial system. Look at Bitcoin's ever-decreasing supply to the miners, and look at the scarcity of it and the increasing population of the world and the requirements for every single person and corporation on this planet to have a reliable store of value that cannot be devalued like every single fiat currency in history, both past and present. Cut through all the crap that you read in the news and look for the kernels of wisdom and truth. All the best, everyone. I'm Clark Towson, CEO of INTJ Billing and President of Chrysalis Australia.